You feel helpless and you're looking to the sky. Some people would say to
Why don't we go ahead and get started? It's a little after 8:45, and that's the time we said we'd get started. My name is Randy Smith. I'm a professor of business journalism here at the Journalism School, and this is my colleague, Tone Stam. And together we have been doing this for 7 years, putting together these teams with these clients, and the end result has been remarkable. It's helped launch new companies. One of them is Missouri Business Alert, which is actually live streaming this today. And by the way, if you want to subscribe to Missouri Business Alert, we'd love to have you do that. 444-999, just text that. If Laura Slayton here in the back is a marketing director, and you can sign up with her afterwards. But we have, one of the great things about this event is that we've been able to give lifts to both startups and also to big name companies. This year, for the first time, we have Bloomberg with us, but AP is with us for the 7th year. So maybe Tone could tell a little bit about how this all started.
All right. At around 2007 or 2008, Randy Smith joined the faculty of the journalism school. He's a professor of business journalism. And he and I were in a number of workshops here in the journalism school together. And we got to know each other very well. We became the co-directors of the Center for the Digital Globe, which is actually an initiative by 4 different schools to collaborate in research and teaching and service in the area of anything digital and anything global, and preferably both. Randy and I are co-directors of CDiG, and we decided to start a course that follows up on all these workshops that we had. And the workshops were media companies coming in and brainstorm about brilliant ideas that were going to be very successful, media-related projects. And everybody got very excited, and I did too. But great, brilliant people, and they are. And then I would sit in the next workshop, and a lot of times the same people came with different projects, or the same projects, and we did brainstorming again, and again, and again. And at some point, I was thinking, something is missing here. You know, the great ideas are in the media are here, but it seems like they're having a hard time bringing it to market, you know, to make it actually happen. So then our idea was born, and I can say that CDiG has been the foundation of this and several other initiatives on the teaching side. So our course has half journalism students and half business students, and we work with real clients, and on the media side and on the business side. And we just try to help the client with bringing their product or service to market, you know, broadly stated. And this year, I think we have an especially great selection of teams and clients. And I'm very, very proud of it, and I'm very proud of this course. And I've looked at many course catalogs all around the nation and the world, and there does not exist a course like this. If you find one, let me know, and then I will never say that again. But I have never found one. Okay. I've already said too much, so let's go with the first.
Well, wait a minute. One more thing, Tom. One more thing. This is Tone's 7th and last year of doing this. He'll be retiring, and he's been an amazing friend, mentor, colleague, not only to myself, but to so many of us throughout both the journalism school. He sat on many different committees and participated in many things over here. So in recognition of his service, someone who is retired but deeply admired, Tone, we give you this in honor of all your work that you've done with the Center for the Digital Globe. It says, the Center for the Digital Globe Distinguished Achievement Award presented to Antony Stam for his dedication to global education and exemplary service, 2017.
Well, thank you, Rennie, and thank you, everybody. This is a big surprise. Thank you.
All right, the way that we will work this is that we will introduce teams, and their mentors will come forward. In this particular case, Francesco Marconi, who is a former member of this class about 7 years ago, came into this class and thought he was in another class, and he sat down and never left, and it actually changed his life. He's now the #2 strategy officer at the Associated Press. He was to be introducing the AP team, but he has an illness in the family and unfortunately can't be here, so I'm standing in for him. The challenge here is it's an interesting one to me, because the AP, when it started off, was essentially a company that went out and got the news, prepared it, not only here in the United States, but worldwide, and then sold everything to newspapers. So out the door it went, and then a little later came in radio, and so they started selling it to radio, and then later on came television. And just since I've been here, about a year or two before I came, something called the iPhone came out. And so we went from newspaper to touch. We went from the point and click mouse to essentially the ability then a touch screen. So the internet has gone through two levels, and it's about to go through, and is going through the third level. And the third level is voice-activated media. We see it now with Alexa, we see it with Google Home, and quite frankly, this area is expected to grow something like 5 times between today and 2020. So it's supposed to be a $5 billion market by 2020. So there's going to be a lot of revenue there, and so things have changed a great deal. When newspapers were loaded into trucks and delivered to homes, and now where you can basically wake up and ask Alexa what's the news, what's the weather, so forth and so on. So their challenge was, what is AP doing? What has it done in the past that could take advantage of this content? What is it that could be interactive with these new machines that are coming out? Keeping in mind that Alexa and Google Home are just the very beginning of what's going to be out there. We know that we have them in our car, and we have them on our refrigerators and all of those kinds of things, but it's going to grow far exponentially from that. Also, to imagine what the revenue might be like from such an opportunity to be able to sell content, AP content, in this new and fast-growing market. So that was the challenge. AP's experimenting with this. The students were just in New York presenting to the top executives of the Associated Press, and literally blew them away, because there were things that they came up with that AP had not imagined, and some of the coding and things of that they have done with some of this stuff they're going to demonstrate to you is quite amazing. So with that, I introduce the AP team. Go ahead.
Okay, great. I'll bring it up.
How are we sounding right now? Good? Yep, mics are coming in.
Yep.
Great.
All right, well, while Maria is setting that up, we'd like to say good morning to everyone and thank you for being here. A special thanks to our judges. We are really looking forward to your feedback. And we would like to say thank you for Randy. He's really helped us a lot along the way in this process. He has been with us every week, meeting with us, giving us feedback, taking us to New York, and it would not have been possible without him. And finally, we would like to thank Francesco and the AP for giving us the opportunity. And with that, we are the Associated Press.
Hi, I'm Nate Mahalingam. I'm a first-year MBA student, spring entry. The reason I took this project was because it promised more techie stuff, and I'm a really tech sort of guy. And I pretty much did all the programming for the apps we're going to demonstrate to you.
Great. My name's Taylor Nakagawa. I'm a second-year master's student at Mizzou. This project was attractive to me because I've been working with the AP, trying to develop more guidelines for virtual reality journalism, so the whole emerging tech aspect really drew me to this project.
My name is Tara Hanusa. I am a second-year MBA student graduating in a few short weeks, and I was attracted to this project because the AP has always been a B2B marketing company, and they are working with these voice devices that are B2C, so I thought it would be a really interesting way to get a taste of both of that.
And my name is Maria Magner. I am a first-year MBA student, and my undergrad was actually in journalism. So I worked as a television news producer, and I would use the AP Wire to help build out my newscasts. So, to kick things off, to quote the Associated Press, our mission is to inform the world, but the world is not reading newspapers anymore. As Randy mentioned, traditionally, the AP generated revenue by selling photos, videos, text stories to media outlets. But as these media outlets have faced financial constraints, they've really pulled back on their buying of services such as the AP Wire. So, the AP is searching for alternative revenue streams in markets like the voice-activated devices, like the Amazon Echo. Our team has developed a set of skills specifically for this market and for the AP, completely original, so that when the voice-activated chips fall, they fall in AP's bucket. And here's how.
So before we go into our recommendations, I'd like to start by asking you, how do you get your news today? On your phone? On the computer. Okay, so just like that, we are in a new phase of technology. In the past 30 years, we've moved from a point-and-click system on your computer to now touch-enabled devices like your smartphones. And now we have these voice-enabled devices. But all of the technology is not there yet, or people don't know about it yet. So for our project, we decided to look at the market and pick the Amazon Alexa as our main focus because they are the main players in this market right now.
Great. So as Tara was talking about, a lot of the skills on these devices aren't fully developed yet. And when that comes to news, there's such a wide variety of news outlets to pick from. But what these news outlets are technically doing right now is picking what they decide is the top news of the day. So when you ask these devices for the news in general, you're just going to get a stream of whatever news outlet you decide is your top one to give you just the top 10 headlines of the day. But we really feel like that doesn't do service to the true voice assistant part of these devices. And so to tackle the news on these devices, we wanted to build a system where you could search the AP Wire for any topic that you wanted. The AP produces 2,000 stories a day, and so we really feel like that gives you a wide variety of choices. And we also want it so that it's a personalized system. So not only are you going to have the ability to search the AP Wire for certain terms, certain events, certain people, but also the machine is going to learn from those decisions that you are making. And so when you just ask for the news in general, it's going to give you a feed of the news that is going to be personalized to your own system. Another aspect that we wanted to tackle is the ability to summarize news stories. these are going to, the text stories that you're going to be searching are going to be sometimes 500 to 1,000 words long. And so if you were to hear a headline that is really attractive to you and you just wanted a summary of that story, we wanted to make sure that that is also taken care of as well. So just to give you a prototype of this entire thing, Nate was able to program all of our skills for it. He did it in a matter of 10 days, and so I thought that's pretty impressive. And so he's going to give you a demonstration of what our news navigator is going to sound like.
So as Taylor was saying, the skill that I developed, it can, first of all, it can search through the AP wire for any topic that you're searching. So Alexa, open Navigator.
Welcome to my Associated Press news reader. What would you like me to do?
Search for United Airlines.
Okay, here are the latest news about United Airlines. AP interview, Emirates won't withdraw from U.S. cities. Emirates cuts U.S. flights, blaming Trump administration curbs. United CEO...
Alexa, stop. So that's one of the things that it can do. The other thing is it can use a recommender system. I implemented this basic recommender system using this algorithm called TF-IDF. I read through some research papers and I found out that this was an implementation of this algorithm was used by Amazon and Netflix to give you the recommended products and recommended movies and TV shows on those platforms. So what it does is it takes the text of the top 3 headlines from 5 preferences that you set, and it takes all those headlines and it finds the most common keywords among all of them, and it'll give you the recommended news. It'll also update it after each time you get your recommended news. So I can do another demonstration of that. Alexa, ask Navigator, what is my recommended news?
Okay, here are your recommended news based on your preferences. Penn State frat suspended over booze on Parents' Weekend. One woman's protest. Free rides to immigrants.
Alexa, stop. And other things it can do, it can also get the latest headlines from the AP. It can play the AP radio, but right now I don't have the API key from the AP. So I was actually using archival footage from the 1985 Challenger disaster. It can do that. And it can also summarize any headline that you want. So you can ask, like, what is the summary of the 3rd headline, and it'll give you the summary of that. And that's all about the Navigator app right now.
So moving into our second recommendation, looking at the world as it is now with data. There's so much big data out there, but how are we able to use it? If you have a question about the historical cost of something, or if you need some data to back up a research paper that you're doing, what do? You go on your computer or on your phone, just as you all do with your news. So that's not really the most efficient system, right? You have to go onto your computer, type it in. If you're on Google or a library resource, you have to filter through everything, looking what exactly matches up what you're looking for. And then from there, you have to make sure that the sources are actually reliable if you're going to be trusting them and giving that data to someone else. So with all this big data out there, how can we take that and use it on our voice-enabled devices to make something that's a one-stop shop for you to be able to ask your questions and get your answers immediately?
Great. So when we were talking about data, throughout this project, we found out that the AP had just recently made a partnership with this company called Data.World. Their logo is that owl standing on top of the world right there. And what Data.World is essentially a social network for open data sites. And so that gave the AP the ability to tap into 18.5 million open data sets that are verified right now. And so our idea is to leverage those data sets and for the AP to build templates so that you can take these large sets of data and crunch them down into an actual answer for you. So to give you an example of that, imagine that you're driving around and you're in a new neighborhood and you want to find out what the house prices are around you. Instead of having to look that all up on the internet and make sure you're in the right area on the right street, imagine having the ability to ask these devices what a starter house price is for that. And that's just one example of how the data set can be leveraged by that, but the strength of Data.World is the ability for people who are publishing these data sets to collaborate and find more contextualized answers and more conclusions based on combining a lot of data sets. So imagine not only to be able to drive around and learn the house prices around you, but to learn maybe about the water quality around you, how much it'll cost to pay utilities, how the public school system is around you. These are all possible with the partnership with AP's recent partnership with Data.World. And so just to give you an example of how a starter house pricing app on these device might sound, Nate actually built another prototype that you can check out.
Alexa, open Pricer.
Welcome to my house price app. What would you like me to do?
Starter home price for St. Louis in 2015.
The average starter house prices for St. Louis in the year 2015 is $63,550.
So like what Taylor was saying, you can put this on this app, on this device right now, but what we can do is we can make this modular, meaning we can put it in cars, we can put it in your phone, just so you can take it out very quickly and ask, like, what's the price right here? You don't have to open an app, you don't have to go searching for locations and whatnot.
So our third idea is a little bit of a shift towards grammar, and with two different ways. One is, what do you do when you have a grammar question? And the second one is, how are we teaching young students to learn grammar? So right now, the Associated Press already has the style book, which is a great resource for journalists in the newsroom or for students that have a quick question that they want to look something up. And in terms of learning grammar, if you go on to the Amazon site and you look at tools that are available for younger students, they're all quiz-based. That means that students are going on there, taking these quizzes, and it's like a one way of learning is memorizing. And memorizing isn't going to help these young students when they're 5 years out trying to write a paper, because you can't just apply the concepts and learn the language. So how can we take what the AP already has in this style book and use it as a form of teaching and conversation for students?
Great. So building off of what Tara said, this biggest strength of the AP style book is that it already is built like a rough data set as it is right now. If you look at it, it gives you, it can be based on a certain question, it'll give you a certain answer based on a certain word or a certain punctuation mark. But what is at its real strength of the style book is the ability to move you around and give you more contextualized answers. So for instance, if you were to source something like Democrat, it would ask you if you wanted to learn more about political parties as a whole and how to use those in your writing or in your speaking. And so our idea is to make grammar conversational when you learn. We feel like that is a more effective way in order to teach somebody grammar and to make it last for a much longer time. So imagine instead of a mother coming home and working with their son on writing out certain grammar things and having them memorize it, imagine having this device able so that they can talk to it, have answers given back to them, and also have the device encourage them to learn more about how this word fits into their writing in general. And so Nate's going to give a demonstration of how that might sound.
Alexa, open style book.
Welcome to my Associated Press style book. What would you like me to do?
How do you source Democrat?
Democrat and Democratic should be lowercase. However, capitalize the D and P when referring to the Democratic Party. Would you like to learn more about political parties and philosophies?
Yes.
For political parties, capitalize the philosophy when referring to the
Alexa, stop.
or its members communist,
Great. So before we move on, we just wanted to make sure that you guys know that none of these capabilities right now are on these devices in general. And what we're trying to do here is not only take what the AP has and make it even better for these devices, but really move the AP outside of what their traditional model is, and that is knowing about the news and disseminating the news to people. We really feel like all these data sets and this ability to customize news in general breaks the AP outside of their original shell of just being a news company. And by implementing ideas like the style book, like taking data sets, the AP can serve a much wider audience than they ever were to do before. Great.
So you might be asking yourself, why would the AP want to do this from a financial standpoint, right? So we're looking at the investment side of things. Our team believes that it would take 2 software developers to create these skills within AP. Amazon average salary for software developers around $100,000 a year. And then to host all of this through Amazon Web Services is very small, a couple $100. From the revenue side of things, there are a number of avenues that the AP could go down. They could create a contract with Amazon that says, if you want our skills on your device to help sell your device, to make it more robust, then pay us, conservatively speaking, first year, $300,000. And we're looking at a profit of around $100,000 the first year alone. And we believe that contract could be a lot more. There's also an option for advertising. Maybe an advertiser would want to be associated with the style book or the customized news stream. I mean, Amazon Echo was the #2 selling product on Amazon last Christmas. It's expected to be #1 this year. It's growing so fast. These voice-activated devices, consumer spending on them is expected to increase, according to Business Insider, by over 400% by 2020. I mean, this market is growing so fast. And you might ask yourselves, this is very hypothetical. You know, there are a lot of unknowns in the financial side of things. So that's true. There are a lot of unknowns. As Randy said, this is kind of an experiment right now. Businesses are making deals as we speak. But there are a lot of knowns. The known is that the AP's revenue stream is shrinking, and the future does not look any better. So if they want to expand their market and do it at a low risk, a very low investment, this is a great alternative, because I guarantee their competitors are doing this right now. They're trying to come up with something great, but the AP can be first and it can be best. So the second reason, why do it, is because the AP already has the content. We're not saying go out there and create an entirely new product. We're just talking about the delivery of what they already have. And third, brand value. We want to take the consumption of AP's content right now, which is kind of unknown, it's hidden in newspapers and TV, and we want to make it active. We want people to request the Associated Press. We want to hear the AP style book, and there's a lot of value in that. The future is now. I mean, we're not just talking about delivering the news, we're talking about teaching and providing tools for life. This is an entirely new era of receiving information.
Introducing Jibo, the world's first family robot. Say hi, Jibo.
Hi, Jibo. Take a picture.
He's an entertainer and educator. Through interactive applications, Jibo can teach.
Is our Samsung proprietary voice recognition. So all the apps that we've had, we can now launch and navigate with our voice.
A vehicle that's fully aware of its surroundings. It feels like an extension of yourself, connecting you seamlessly to your own personal cloud.
Play today's podcast from the New York Times.
So if you can master what's out there now, you will be in a position to be the leader in the next generation. That's what we're trying to help AP do. Because in the beginning we said, the AP's mission is to inform the world, but the world isn't reading newspapers anymore. The world is using technology. And we believe that what the AP did for TV, for newspapers, it can do for this new tech, but it has to make decisions today that put it in a leadership position. Alexa, ask History, what is the AP?
Welcome to my History app. What would you like me to do?
What is the AP?
The AP, or the Associated Press, is one of the world's largest news organizations, with 263 locations worldwide in 106 countries and an unparalleled 50-state coverage. It is one of the most comprehensive and unbiased news sources in the world. In the year 2017, 4 students from the University of Missouri, Nate, Taylor, Maria, and Tara, made history by recommending that the AP switch to more B2C marketing in smart devices such as the Amazon Echo. This made them the leader and giant in every sort of news platform for decades to come. The AP, where stories begin.
That's it. We're now ready for questions. We did hand out some supplemental material to the judges. If we might reference that if you ask some specific questions, so you know.
So how was your presentation perceived in New York?
How was it perceived? They hadn't even considered doing the style book, and so that they were really impressed with that. And as Taylor said, it's already kind of set up like a spreadsheet, so it makes it very easy for a computer to reference things. Anything else
They
about
were really
New York?
impressed with the pricing app as well. They wanted to really expand on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because they want more partnerships, and with Data World, I mean that it just it could create a lot more. I mean, they can partner with. Tara said we're using Amazon as an example because it's the biggest player, but they could partner with car companies, appliance companies. There are a lot of opportunities as this technology grows.
And I would say for the Navigator too, they're already tackling the issue of being able to summarize stories, but I think we brought them the whole idea of taking those summaries and being able to personalize them through the search capabilities of our News Navigator.
One of the criticisms I think of online sources of news is that we get kind of these silos of just things or echo chambers of what we want to see. Do you think there's problems with this recommendation engine, just basically letting everybody who wants to kind of recreate that silo, but in a voice-activated world? Or did they bring up any issues about that or concerns?
Well, they didn't say anything about that.
But I did kind of think about that from a journalistic perspective, but I mean, that's the way the market's going. You could ask Facebook why they do it. They do it because that's what people want and that's what people use.
How did you figure out, you mentioned you thought you could do this with 2 software engineers and a certain budget, but doing it at scale versus doing it for demonstration is a lot different. What makes you trust that those assumptions are going to hold?
I'll let Nate take that one.
Well, I developed this in 10 days over the spring break, so it's not that hard. It's pretty live. It's actually live. It's not like I'm building pre-built things for it to say. It actually goes to the AP Wire website, and it's simply like how you're searching for a topic. So it goes through the HTML code, it searches for things, and it gets the headlines back. So I think it can pretty much very easily be developed by 2 software engineers over a year at most.
So you don't think there'll be problems when there's 100,000 people?
Well, all the hosting is run on the Amazon Web Services. The AP has nothing to do with that.
Right,
So
and this is also going to be built in-house, and so that when we connect with other devices in general, there isn't going to be a certain overload, I guess, on a certain server because the AP is already so used to dealing with so many people using their wire in general. Right, like Nate said, it's just the ability to search the wire and give you results from that.
Since you're like on this platform where you're going to Alexa, could there be problems in the future where Alexa changes its API and therefore breaks your app because they've partnered with, I don't know if API is still around, but they've partnered with some other wire service?
no, the code itself is all written in Python on my local machine right now. The Amazon side, it's 10, 15 lines in total. You can very easily change that as well, even if they change the API and the scheme, the intents, whatever.
I might be the only one in the room that doesn't have an Alexa at home, so I don't really understand how that thing works. It's simple. But is there going to be a challenge for somebody like me that, how do I know how to phrase a question? Or am I going to go to a website and put in my preferences? Are there going to be constraints like that that would deter me from wanting to just buy it and put it on my counter?
I would kind of take the same approach as Apple does with how they kind of describe their products with you. We want to make these skills to the point where there's kind of a fluid way of learning how to use them. I think with your Apple products, they kind of just give you your iPhone and there's only a couple buttons on it. But I think with after playing with it for a little bit, you know how to touch a certain app to get there. You know how to eventually search with it. And if you just hold down your home button, you can ask Siri for something. We want that user interaction with the device to be the same with these skills right here. And so while the first version of them might be a very specific question, like how do I source Democrat? We want in the future to have multiple questions to have the same answer for it. So not only is it just search for United Airlines, it could be like, hey Alexa, what happened with the United Airlines today? Or like, what's the update on the United Airlines case and everything.
And with that, I think the benefit of owning something like this is so that you don't have to depend on your smartphone anymore. So you basically are verbally saying what you would do on your phone. So open my Pricer app, you would slide your phone open and click Pricer app. So you'd say it verbally, and that's the benefit.
You can also change like whatever you want to say. You can explicitly define what are the invocation phrases for starting the app itself. So you don't have to remember something just for that.
And if the AP created a contract with Amazon, they could be the default news app. So you don't even have to ask specifically for the AP. Like right now, Google Home their default news is NPR, because NPR is one of the best news outlets for voice. I mean, they already most of what they do. So if the AP can get ahead of the game and they can be the #1 news provider maybe for Amazon, then as soon as you get this device, you just ask for the news and it automatically goes to that.
Have you looked at, one during your explorations, have you looked at inserting voice ads into content? So when it plays a thing about United Airlines, you can say, well, and by the way, United has a sail to London.
Yeah. Well, I looked at it, but right now on the Echo, there is no ads whatsoever on any app. They're talking about bringing it at some point, but right now there's no time, there's nothing.
Yeah.
I was curious because the AP's philosophy for a long time has been to stay a B2B company, although it's been breaking out. I was at business development director for 6.5 years. I'm curious to know what the response was there in terms of your recommendation to move more to B2C.
Yes, that was something that we all did discuss, but they, in some respects, they kind of see these new devices as the new media outlet. So it still can be considered B2B if you're working with Amazon instead of NBC, that kind of thing. But they're also acknowledging the fact that they need to expand what they're looking at, and if their revenue isn't coming from this area, then it needs to come from somewhere else.
Did they give a timeline in terms of when they might want to implement some of the recommendations that you gave?
I don't remember a timeline.
I know that they're in a very rudimental stage of at least doing the News Navigator and the Data World partnership right now. So that's already going into effect. I think what we were able to give them is a much more concrete framework for how something like this could look.
Were you guys able to dig up any information about what that partnership between Amazon and your example NPR looks like? I also don't have one, and I don't know, does NPR pay to be a part of that platform? Does Amazon pay for NPR's content? Just looking at how this would be another, diverse and sustainable revenue stream for the AP.
Right. So Amazon does pay NPR for their content right now. And I think that is more credit to NPR to actually, approaching Amazon in the first place, to have, their name be on the box of the Amazon Echo when you get that. So our idea is to approach Amazon. There already is an AP presence on Amazon Alexa, but I think it's to approach Amazon with, hey, we know you have NPR and they do the best radio content ever, but do you have the ability to search our wire? Right now, the AP content is so limited on Alexa because they just give you headlines. And so I think our idea is to be like, hey, do you have the ability to search? Do you have the ability to not only search, but be able to have your device learn from those searches? And you also have the ability to not only search just for news stories, but also give radio stories. So we want to take everything that the AP has right now in their wheelhouse and put it in a personalized and ready to access way on these devices.
And more than just audio, too. The AP has photos and video, and these devices can connect. Like Amazon has the Fire Stick that can connect to your TV. So that's something that NPR, I think that the AP can really build off of more than NPR. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? Or were you saying something?
No, I was just saying I would be curious. The first place I would start when pricing something like that would be like, well, what are you paying those guys? What can we, how does that work? Thanks.
So as a follow-up to the B2C question, do you have any research or data to suggest that, like, among end users, there is an appetite for a style book or for some more B2B type products that you guys are trying to market to consumers?
Well, the number 3rd requested thing on these devices is news. We do know that for sure. And then we did see if there were any other skills out there that provide grammar, but.
Right. So we found this study right here. This is from users who already have the Amazon Echo or any other voice device for that matter. And so the number one thing that they're requesting is the ability to understand what they're saying. That's not anything the AP can worry about. That's more the natural learning process of the Amazon Echo itself. But the next 3 requests or desires that they're having is the ability to speak more naturally, the ability to give the results that they're asking for, and the ability to get more personalized information in general. So we feel like our 3 prototypes kind of hit all of those in general. Being able to speak more naturally, that's the ability to search for specific terms, that's the ability to get grammar questions, which is right now not possible on these devices. And it's also the ability to ask about your location using data or any other questions you might have that. Getting the results you're asking for, that kind of gets back to the very specific questions that we're hoping to answer through all of our prototypes. And then personalized news was one of the biggest features of our news navigator in general. We got 30 more seconds. No more questions? Okay.